My name is Dejane.
And I'm Diaja.
And we are twins from Georgia. And I've been a disciple going on almost 8 years now. I've been in Salt Lake City, Utah for 4 years on the original mission team back in 2020.
And I am not a disciple. I just moved here. It's been a month now. And so I have been joining my sister at church services and church events.
We're here with Dejane, and the reason that we're interviewing you is because we want to find out what your experience was as a missionary coming out to Salt Lake City. So if you could just tell us about what year that was and about how many people came out here.
Yeah. So I got baptized originally in Oregon. When I was in college in 2016. And at the end of 2019, I got asked if I wanted to come out to Salt Lake City to help plant a church. And I said yes. And so at the end of January 2020 is when myself, along with 18 other people, we all moved out here. Majority of us not knowing each other. We all moved out here to help plant the Salt Lake City International Christian Church in January of 2020.
One of the things that stands out about your mission trip was not only were you the admin and did a lot in that regard, but you were also able to have some personal accomplishments. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes. When I graduated college in Oregon, I got a degree in animal science with a minor in communication. When I first started college, the idea was to become a veterinarian. Very early on did I realize that's not what I actually wanted to do. So when I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do as far as a career. And I worked in the food industry for quite some time. And it actually wasn't until I moved out here to Salt Lake that I realized I want to become an ultrasound technician, a veterinary ultrasound technician. And with that realization, I realized I definitely had to go back to school because I didn't know anything. And so I ended up finding a small college out here that I started going to, and was a part of a 2-year program. And I graduated in 2022 with an associate's degree in veterinary technology. So I am a veterinary technician currently, with that being my end goal, which may take some years from now, but I graduated with my second degree after moving out here.
You did at some point 4 years ago, roughly, say, I'm going to leave Oregon mm-hmm. and be a missionary, right? And so, what was the heart behind that?
Just the mission. We're called to move to a place where there are people who may know about the Bible, who may know about God, but then there's also people who may not know anything about God in the Bible. And that was the simple purpose, is what can I do to help further God's kingdom in a way that makes me uncomfortable but pushes my faith to push myself to be a better disciple? And with the role like that with the mission team, we aren't getting paid for this. People expect oh, they're paying for your housing or they're paying for your food. It's no, we all moved out here. We all, so a lot of people moved out here without jobs, but then some people were able to move out here with a transfer job, and that was me. But we were responsible for our own, our bills. We moved out here, we find a job, and we start working towards, getting our finances together to, pay for housing. But then also, we're on campus or out sharing 12 hours a day, because that's what it takes. That's what it took. If we didn't have any visitors at church on Sunday, that's only on us. That's on me. What did I do this week to help, again, share my faith, invite people out to know the truth or to learn about the truth. And you don't get paid for that. You get paid in the fruit, what you produce, which again, some days and some weeks are better than others, but that's no matter where you are.
Did they pay for your airline tickets?
I got help. I don't it's been so long, I don't remember exact amounts, but I could say maybe $300 towards the flight and my bags. So I think honestly the flight might have been the main financial help. I don't remember, but I know again we came out here with nothing, and it's working towards having something. If that makes sense.
Now, this next question is there any conversation about getting an airline ticket home or help with going back to where you came from or something like that?
No, that's again, I don't know if it's how that works for other people. I think, again, when we first moved out here, like, this was it. Like, there is no plan B. Like, there is no, I hate it here, let's go back. Like that. And for me, again, like, unfortunately, like, there were people that I knew in Oregon that walked away barely within the week of me moving out here. And so for me, there's a point where, like, I can't go back. Like, there's nothing to go back to, or like, it's not the same as when I left. And it's one of those things, like, if I really thought about it, I think had I not been asked or had I not moved out here, I think I probably would have walked away, if we're being 100% honest. Because, again, I wasn't doing the best spiritually, just because there was a lot of trials and people were going through things that I didn't understand. So one, seeing people go through struggles, but then also dealing with that in my own way. Like, I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't want to face it. And so I think God definitely saved me by pulling me out of what turned out to be a pretty bad situation, because there were multiple people that I was close with in the campus ministry that did walk away. And so for me, there was nowhere else to go. And I'm grateful because I did end up with people here that, again, we didn't know each other in the beginning, but shortly after us getting here, there was an earthquake, there was a snowstorm, and then there was COVID. So those three things alone are great bonding opportunities where you can only build family with the people you have out here. And I think that definitely saved a lot of us as well and helped heal us and repair kind of the hardship that we might have come out of from our respective churches. But it definitely was rough, where it's like, for me, there was no plan B.
I appreciate you answering, like, I mean, I don't think they're super tough. They might be kind of tough questions, but I think sometimes these are even questions that people might have, but are kind of afraid to ask, or, you know, and so having, you know, anybody that's interested in going into on a mission team, I'm hoping that these few videos of what it was like to come to Salt Lake will answer some questions and some stuff. And so some of the stuff that I've asked some of the other missionaries was like, what was your greatest thing that you learned, or even that you wish you knew prior to coming here?
One thing I realized is that I didn't have a mission mindset in Oregon, in the sense of, are you sharing your faith every day? Are you following up every day? Are you spending quality time with your household members, with the church body, brothers and sisters, with the different ministries, the Mary's ministry? And though, when I look back at it, no. It's hard to say with the lifestyle and the new demand of, building the church here in Salt Lake City. I wasn't a disciple, I don't think. Not really, in terms of my work ethic. I was very lazy, or I didn't, I gave my whole heart and I showed up, but I definitely was not pushed or didn't push myself as if I was on a mission team, if that makes sense. Where again, the standard and the level of, the standard we were called to was so much higher in terms of what it takes to build a church. I wasn't building a church in Oregon the way I was here. That makes sense. And so one thing, it's one of those things, you study the Bible and you have this zeal and this excitement of oh yeah, this is the best thing ever, and my life is totally changed. But do you keep that same energy, momentum, logic, love, passion, zeal throughout your whole discipleship? And for me, the answer was no. And I didn't realize that until I got out here. It's oh, that's what it means to be a disciple, after so many years of not doing the work.
Yeah, I want to pick that apart just a tad bit, in that I don't know that we should measure what we've done as kind of whether or not we're saved, but more so that we can make it to the end, running the race that is giving the best we can, accepting God's grace. And again, I think all this just because when I look at you and I look at Rich, I see you two as people that show up to church first, are there kind of until the end, and didn't come here with, let's say, like a trained, resource heavy, but like learned on the job and persisted and balanced your own lives out, and so again, I'm not comparing, everybody's story is going to be a little bit different, but when I look at you and Rich, I see two people that do what they do because they love God, right? And but I also think that it's wise to go like push harder, but it's not because I want to be saved. You're already saved. Yeah. So for what it's worth, I'm gonna ask one question that was very similar to that question, and this is like, what was like your greatest moment so far?
I feel like the one thing that came to mind, so one thing I feel like I've struggled with, and not necessarily struggle with, but something that has been on my heart and can make me struggle, is my production of fruit. It wasn't until I came out here that I was able to baptize someone. Like, honestly, their mom was like, "You need to meet my daughter," and I was like, "Okay." And so from that, like, I met her, came out to church, studied the Bible, became a disciple. And for me, personal fruit is, again, you meet them and you're with them like throughout the whole, through all of the Bible studies to see them baptized. And I feel like that was a huge accomplishment, because I feel like I've been a part of baptisms and I've been a part of Bible studies, but never feeling personally responsible for meeting them and then getting them, like seeing them all the way through. And so it's like a bittersweet thing where like my biggest accomplishment was being personally fruitful. But again, dealing with loss, right? Like, we came out here with 19 people, and unfortunately that original 19, some of them are not still faithful. Like, they chose to walk away from God. And so I can question God as far as like, why? But being a part of something that is still thriving to this day. Like, my prayer is that, no matter what happens, I will always put God first. And the prayer is that when we continue to meet people, that they will also put God first. But it's not going to come easy. It's going to come with trials and tribulations. And so for me, the greatest accomplishment is to see just how far the church has grown, or how far it's come through its trials and errors and accomplishments, but being able to be a part of that. Like, if I hadn't put my life down along with other people, like, who's to say what this church would be made of, or if this church would still even be here? And so being able to see 4 years later the church even greater than what it was when we first got out here, like, that's the biggest accomplishment.